So we have a great program for you today. Thank you all for joining us. We'd like to introduce our management team to you, the folks that bring this project together. There's myself, Maria Zarang, Dr. Rachel Doherty, Dr. Gary LaFleur, and the staff of the BCC, Ada Owens and Dr. Shauna Walton. This is also the slide that just sort of says we don't promote any particular strategy as an answer. We're just here to discuss a lot of the challenges that we face and show that why culture is so important in planning and when we're talking about the coastal land loss issue. And more so that culture is a source of social cohesion. Say that 5 times fast and human connections. And human connections is what the theme of this year is going to be all about. All too often, we find ourselves behind our computers and cell phones, and we are slowly distancing ourselves from people. And so this year, we want to focus on ways that we can bring people together and form those relationships with them. We'd like to say thank you to our funders, the National Endowment for the Arts, the M.J. Sindler Family Fund for Culture and Media, the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development through the Division of the Arts, and the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. I'd like to pass this on to Maida now to talk about our artist spotlight for this month. Oh, you're still on mute, Maida.
Maria Zarang was not able to be with us, but she selected David Holcomb and the Czech Heritage Dancers. They're based in Labousse and Colon, Louisiana. That's outside of Alexandria. They were founded in 1987 with the Louisiana Czech Heritage Association. They continue to practice folk dances, perform in the public, and are part of the annual Czech Festival in Labousse each March. David Holcomb and the dancers have recently been awarded a Passing It On grant to bring in the band Covanda from Texas so that the group can practice choreographing, refining, and performing their dances to a live band. They're going to demonstrate the dances they learned during the Passing It On program at the NSU Folk Festival in Natchitoches later this year in the summer.
Awesome. Thank you very
So
much. Thank you very much for sharing that. We appreciate that. So we'd like to go over our agenda today. We're going to hear from Mr. Bruce Sunpie Barnes. We're going to have a little bit of time to ask him some questions. We're going to ask him our question about what strategies that he could suggest about reclaiming human connections. And then we'll have a few working group updates, some announcements, and then of course we'll have our informal discussion from 1 until 1:30. So I would like to now introduce you to our speaker for today. Mr. Sunpie Barnes, who is the big chief of the Northside Skull and Bone Gang. I also just want to share a little bit more about his resume and about him. He's a New Orleans musician. Of course, he's the big chief of the Northside Skull and Bone Gang that I had mentioned. Some of the fun things that I learned getting to know Senpai a little bit better is that he's a former park ranger with the National Park Service. He was that for 31 years. He is an actor, a photographer, a book author, a former high school biology teacher, former college football All-American, and a former NFL player with the Kansas City Chiefs. He has played with Paul Simon touring the world. And then I do think I was trying to figure out what was my favorite thing that you did because there's a lot to choose from. I loved Anne Rice. He was in the Mayfair Witches series, so many different things. And then I just stumbled on just a little bit before we started here that he was also involved with Sesame Street. And I don't think I have anybody else that I know personally that I mean certainly not has done all of these things, but I think of all those things, Sesame Street might have been one of my the surprise moment of like, what? He's also got an exhibit that has been up, I believe, over at the Cabildo, and just an amazing, amazing human. Thank you so much for being with us today, Sunpie. And he's going to talk to us today about preserving and perpetuating the Creole French culture in Louisiana. Thank you so much for being with us today, man.
Oh, thank you so much. Mon peut dire bonjour à tout quelqu'un qui a pu venir ici jeudi pour écouter la parole de moi comme de la culture de la Louisiane. Et puis, moi, c'est le chef du Scalot ici dans Nouvelle-Orléans. Et, la première chose, c'est pour voir un petit documentary. We're going to look at a little short documentary that I produced with some Columbia University students. And I think it's one of the better ways that just kind of gives you an essence of what this New Orleans tradition is around masking skeleton. And it kind of has an arc that reaches out into the rest of the world as well. So we can start with that and then we'll dive deeper into some slides that I prompted that'll kind of give you some more visual. But I'm happy to be here and honored actually.
This city's always been a very tough city. It's a port city. Poverty brings about some very, very hard things. Looking at how many people are on the death row in New Orleans, some people like to look at it and say, oh, that's those people, that's in that city. You know, it doesn't affect me, it's not true. Over and over again in this country, it makes a difference. It makes a difference if you have access to guns and to weapons. These things they're not right. It's a cycle that needs to be broken, and so we have to remind people about that. The reason it's important to me is it's all around me. When you're a young person also, when you're living in that environment, you have a choice that you have to make to steer clear of it, or you're caught up directly in it. It's a school of hard knocks. There's no mystery about that part of it. You can't buy your way into this world. You really can't buy your way out. You can't buy happiness. You have to generate it from the dirt, from the ground up. And that's what's going to make you feel like a full human. Historically, not everyone could participate in the parading tradition because many different tiers in society that says that if you're considered, for example, a second-class citizen, no, you could not participate in the official parade. The Northside Skull and Bone Gang comes out dressed as skeletons, as the dead. I would say it's created out of the spirit of resistance. The type of existence that Africans were subjected to in this country. This is what Carnival became. It was a way to survive. A way to pass messages on to the next generation that you can survive it as hard as it is. And ironically, as hard as it was in 1819, it's still hard right now. Very hard for Black people in this country to live, exist, and survive in any peaceful way. And this is a city where Black people have always felt that they mattered. They've had a lot to fight against, but on Carnival Day, that day It's for everybody. And it says you can be anything you want to be other than your natural self. It's important to understand what carnival even is, the shedding of the flesh, to honor those that have gone before us. Those are long-lasting, long-standing African traditions. And when it comes to spirituality, you're not going to make it to the other side and do anything without understanding that you're walking on the shoulders of giants. My name is Bruce Sunpie Barnes, and I'm a musician, but I'm also the chief of the Northside Skull and Bone Gang, and it's carnival time in New Orleans. We are under the veil of the Mardi Gras. Imanja dewa babawa, imanja dewa haribo, sababu.
All right, wonderful, very dramatic music for Carnival, the other end of the stick. But welcome everyone, and this is yeah, this short talk is about the Northside Skull and Bone Gang, which is in New Orleans, Louisiana, and started its tradition in the Treme neighborhood. And the reason the gang is called the Northside Skull and Bone Gang is it is the first neighborhood north of the 12 block grid, which is known as the Vieux Carré, the French Quarter. This was the first neighborhood that was built out, and it just happened to be on the north side. So the gang's been around for a long time, since 1819. And this is a photograph of one of the big chiefs in the middle there, Big Arthur Regis, who was chief of the north side for about 40 years. So from uh, the 1960 on forward for quite a long time. Uh, Next slide. And so you can see him here with some young men, and they have the traditional heads. They are right out in the middle of Canal Street, which is a wild place to be. If you live in New Orleans, you know what that is. If you don't, it's just like something you gotta see to witness, like what is going on Canal Street on Mardi Gras Day. There's probably 1.5 million people easily crammed into that space, waiting on the parades to come by. And the man in the middle, right there, well, I said man, he's a boy. Actually, the one that's in brown, has on some fur, is the person who brought me into the um, Skull and Bone Gang tradition. His name is Albert Morris. So, next slide. Um, And here's another photograph of him and some other young men back in the around 1970s. Of course, uh, they grew up. Next slide. And that's Albert Morris. He's a grown man. He left the city for a little while, was in LA playing in Sunrise Orchestra and other groups doing music and so forth. But he came back and kind of rekindle the tradition when it had really slowed down. It was still, maybe one or two people who were doing that, but he was an amazing artist, and he tricked me into masking with him around 1999. He asked me if I ever thought about masking skeleton, and I was looked at him like it was crazy. I was like, why would I do that? There's no reason for me to want to do that. And I had a lot of friends that were Mardi Gras Indian chiefs. One of my best friends, Donald Harrison Sr., was a big chief of the Guardians of the Flame, and he'd come out of the White Eagle gang, which was one of the first Mardi Gras Indian groups. Uh, but Al somehow got me. He was pretty good at convincing people into doing things. Next slide. This is Al and I, and 2001 at the brand new visitor center of um, Jean Lafitte National Park downtown. But we uh, came in there and did a program around Carnival with the skeletons, which was really one of the first ones that had been done ever. And we had a kind of talk and lecture, park ranger style, and scared the hell out of a bunch of people who showed up for this thing. They didn't know what they were going to get, but they got us. So I kind of documented the moment. You can see in my hand there, I've got this sawfish, a large tooth sawfish that I caught in a shrimp net with one of my partners. His name was um, Herman Gonzalez. So Herman was a shrimper, and he was right out of the Isleño village, and he was a carpenter with the National Park Service. So we got shrimping, and that thing got tangled up in the net one night on a moonlit night in the butterfly net, and the boat was tilting over, about to turn over, and we couldn't figure out what it was. It was a 12-foot sawfish, weighed about 1,200 pounds too. So we had to cut the bill off just to get the thing out, but it became the perfect object. I just had it sitting around for a long time, and then when I started masking, I started using it. It was known as the staff of righteousness. Keep people back off you. Nobody. I had one person run into it one time. It was a Mardi Gras Indian masking, and all the feathers on one side just fell off immediately because it was razor sharp. But I was just like holding it out in front of me. So next slide. um, yeah, 2004. I still had that thing, and everybody thought I was crazy for sure with that. They'd never seen anything like that. But that's kind of part of what the Skull and Bone Gang is. We come from a tradition of the poorest people in the city masking. You could mask skeletons for $15, $25. We take long johns, sweats, turn them inside out, and paint the bones on them and animate the spirit of what's going on. The apron represents a butcher's apron. We carry bones, bloody bones, and we sing and chant, and we wake up the city uh, at 5 a.m. in the morning, starting down in the Treme neighborhood. Next slide. Thank you. Um, and again, as I said, this tradition started with enslaved African males who were not allowed to participate in carnival and its early origins, and just taking newspaper, flour, and baling wire, like you bale hay with, or cotton or whatever, and framing these masks out of it. And it was started by a man who sailed into New Orleans from South Africa and started masking in 1819 in the Treme neighborhood. When it was first forming, it was like really early in the city's growth out from the French Quarter. And Claude Treme, who was a plantation owner, started selling off arpents of land to uh, people of color in New Orleans, and developed that neighborhood. And so that masculine tradition started uh, around that same time. Next one. Uh, this is what I'm doing right now. Painting bones and putting my hands in a lot of goop. We got to use that. Gold bond flour is the best though for like making that stuff. So, but we still do the traditional method of how we mask, and it's an amazing thing to look back and think about having done it for as long as I have. Okay, next one. A few of these are like the aprons and stuff that's in my backyard. The scene is the same. It's amazing how fast the year circles around and comes back to you. But taking those, found parts. Um, that was a nice big buck that my uncle had got up in, up around the area where Professor Roach is from. They have those blue deer. So the blue deer up above Tensall Parish in that area all eat white oak acorns, and they're massive. They're not like the ones down here in the swamp. They're like a whole different animal, kind of a cross between some mule deer strain and whitetail, and they're kind of bluish gray. Um, Next. It's Mardi Gras Day. This is I matched with Al, Big Chief Al, for about 10 years before his health kind of started to dwindle a bit. And I was his second chief for quite a while. It was just he and I. We would come out of the Backstreet Cultural Museum at 5 a.m. and there would be maybe, 5 or 6 people out there waiting for us when we went door to door. But I will say the tradition has grown over the years. Next, this is Al, young man now who's like, yeah, he's about 20 years old. 21 actually, Kamara, whose mother runs the Ushe Cultural Center, but we all masked. And the man in the middle was the guy who just really harassed me to death on the first time I came out masking. His name is Tyrone Miller. He was amazing Mardi Gras Indian, and he had also been a skeleton when he grew up. So as I learned, and when I first started masking, that man, Al, just sent me out the door and he was like, get out there and make it happen. And I was like, make what happen? I thought we were together, and how can we be a gang? A gang means aggregation of people, and there's two of us. So he sent me out there and I came around. I was like, okay, all right, I'll do it. So I started playing the tambourine and walking around the corner, and to my surprise, people started following me. And I was like, oh, I'm really in trouble now. But I came around the corner, Tyrone Miller was there, and he looked at me and shook his head, and he was like, boy, you are green as you can be. He was like, he just laughed and told me, he was like, Al tricked you into this, didn't he? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so it was hilarious. So but since he embarrassed me so much, I wouldn't let him out of like not showing me the full tradition and like how everything was made and how it should really have, be and where it came from. So next slide. So yeah, kind of stuck with it, and I felt like it was, it had been around a really long time, and only people in those downtown neighborhoods in a lot of ways, although there were skeletons across the city at one point, we're like really still remembering, what it came from, especially in the Tremaine neighborhood where it started at, everybody. Um, as I started to talk to people, like so many people had been in that tradition and done it before. In 2010, Al had a stroke and I had to come out of hiding as the second chief, which was a great position, and start mastering as the kind of functional chief, even though it was really his gang. He had brought me into it, and I didn't want to be in charge of it. I ain't gonna lie, but I did add other members to it. Okay, next. So we kept doing it at the Back Street Cultural Museum. We masked there for came out of that door for 20 years with Sylvester Francis, who started that. Um, It was on that porch actually that Al tricked me into masking in 1999 before the museum opened. It was just like a gathering place, and it's an old funeral home also. So he was like, "This is the place where it happens because this is where the people live, the ones that are on the other side already." So, we made it to 2019. We're able to um, miraculously have a 200th anniversary of this tradition in New Orleans, and really had a beautiful turnout. And it started to really grow from that time and moment also, like in size and numbers quite a bit. So it wasn't 5 people outside the door anymore. It started quickly growing to like several hundred, and then you know several thousand. What can I say? Next slide. Um, and one of the great people who really, the man in the middle right there, he's all masked up, but that is Ronald Lewis. He um came to me and asked me if he could mask. He didn't want to ask Al because Al had an attitude and he was cantankerous. What can I say? He was like the perfect skeleton. He was not always friendly fella. And I would say, oh man, we should grow the gang bigger and do this and do that. And he was like, you can do that if you want to. I'm not going to be responsible for that. The more people you have that don't understand this, the more trouble you have. And that's going to be your trouble. It's not going to be mine. He was like, so I was like, okay, I'll take the trouble on. So, but Ronald was also thinking about opening a museum, and he did. He opened a wonderful museum in the lower Ninth Ward called House of the Dancing Feathers. And it was kind of, so I got him into the gang, and he wasn't as mobile as he used to be. He had some arthritis in his hips. He was a railroad man, and his last real long-term job was around union organizing and working for the city of New Orleans on the streetcars. So all those years of using a 10-pound maul, taking its toll. So he became the gatekeeper, which meant we would go out and he couldn't move as fast as we were mobily. So he would protect the space that we came out of and where we always come back to, which was the back street. Next slide. And that's him on his last after COVID, or right during 2021. Actually, he had his health had kind of gone down as well, just like Al. But we actually got him out and rolled around the city with him in his wheelchair, and he was so happy to be there. But our motto is around recognition of the cycle of life, um, more than anything. The word with the skull and bone gang is "you next." So, and that's what you'll see on everything. So, to help people understand, recognize that no matter who you are and what you do, no matter what health plan you have or don't have, we all are going one direction. And so we try to have people understand it's good to respect life, respect your neighbors. We denounce violence against children, women, gunplay, drugs, all those things that'll expedite your ultimate demise. Next slide. That's our stilt walker, which is like a real, and he is just turning 75 years old. This guy is still on stilts. Zohar Israel has been masking with me for 23 years. Um, and amazing craftsman also. So really, people always look out for the stilt walker. He's up in the air about 12 and a half feet, 13 feet almost. Um, Next. And you can see him. I can also see a great distance, above us when we're out in the street. People love to see the stilt walk, and that's a very old tradition, of course, that has been around here in New Orleans, but also throughout the Caribbean realm and kind of the African diaspora. Next. Everywhere he goes. In fact, uh, he's there's a lot of animation in this past year for sure around the Skull and Bone Gang that people are using AI technology. Some of it is pretty hilarious of what people are making now. So it's the world we're all headed to, even though we can turn the TV off and try and ignore a lot of things. Uh, they, they got us in the here and the hereafter. Next. This is one of our altars that we set. I set these altars myself, actually. So we try and honor and represent all of those many multifaceted um, traditions and people that we're honoring, like our parents, grandparents, all our loved ones who pass away throughout the year, but not just those that have like passed away 5 or 10,000 years ago to the other side, which is where we're going. And before we come out the door, we light um, our altars and we sing and do what we call entertain the spirits. We sing for them, thank them, and honor, the traditions that they've allowed us to continue. Uh, Next, another altar. So I've been able to uh, through music and other things, move around the world quite a bit. And bought this Dinkwa cloth here. Actually, a man came to me at a funeral in Ghana and was like, "You need this," just out of nowhere. So I paid him for it, though. I realized that like he was saying something new. When you go to Africa, there's people can just like read you so fast. It's like amazing how fast they read. That kind of uh, aura, countenance of what you are, but he just came directly to me with that piece of cloth right there in the middle of a funeral. So it was amazing. So I used it for an altar. I continue to do it actually. Uh, Next, and this is me. This time of year, I do a lot of kind of spiritual cleansing. When you uh, deal with and call on your ancestral spirits, they show up like every time. So I'm out in Bayou des Familles, doing something that I normally just do by myself. But in this case, one of my friends, Robert Florence, who tagged it, he was a former park ranger also, so we've been good fans. And he took this photograph of me out there. Um, the water was chilly that day as well. I remember that. So that's like in February, I think. All right, next slide. Um, when we move through the neighborhood, we go through all of these different spaces where people are that do, like on the bayou where you are, you still have the tradition of traiteurs. So my grandmother was one of those people, traiteurs, but she's from a little place called St. Joe, Louisiana. Um, but we have botanicas and we have all these spaces where people do spiritual healing, which is a good alternative often for like what people have when they are trying to like heal themselves in ways that are beyond FDA prescriptions. Next. This is right at St. Augustine Church. There's a space there that honors, it's called the Tomb of the Unknown Slave. So a lot of people, of course, um, that have passed on to the other side did not get a proper burial and they don't have grave markers. And uh, Father Ledoux at St. Augustine Church had this concept and idea around resurrecting something that just spoke to all of the people, no matter who they were, who didn't get a proper burial. So I was working for the National Park Service, and in 2002, we kind of created a grant situation for that space there to put that um, um, recognition there for people who had not gotten a proper burial. But it's also a place that we gather every Mardi Gras Day and sing and remember those folks that have passed on. Next, that's us on the back street. Um, Got a lot of young boys that we pass this along to, and it's been, like that's the future of what we have going on, having them understand the importance of it and feel like they're into it. Got a lot of young men that it helps them to be able to see themselves and understand, the many different traditions that we have in the city. But that one in that neighborhood and having young people from the neighborhood be able to like carry this forward is like really, where's that for us? Next. So we do a couple of things. We come out in the morning and we um, sing and chant, and we're out. We don't have a set time. We don't have a set route where we're going. It's not like we have we do a procession and we just let the spirit carry the day. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 hours, but I've done it for like 23 hours. So I don't really run it other than like getting it right, set the altar, and let the ancestral spirits do the rest of the work. So that's us at the back street. So when we come back, we take those big heads off and making these things right now. This is a head that I made a few years ago. It's pretty, it probably weighs 25, 30 pounds. Um, it's paper mache, but it's got cowrie shells on it also. And these antlers I got in South Africa, water buck. Um, when we come back, we switch over and we kind of honor these ancestral spirits also that are a big part of Treme neighborhood, which are like Haitian traditions of spirituality as well. Next slide. And that's us, 5 a.m. Um, so now the crowds are more like instead of several, uh, like 15 people out there, which I understand. A lot of people, I get text messages all day now. Are you sure you're coming out at 5 a.m.? Like we've been doing the same thing every time because they have a problem with getting up. I'm like, well, I can't help you. What I can tell you is that we'll be there whether you see us or not. It happened. But now this has grown, so it's good to stay consistent and like not try and change it in any particular way, but just let it be what it's supposed to be. That was at the Backstreet Cultural Museum, which that location has kind of changed now. So we come out of a place called the Church of I Am That I Am. But next slide. Um, we do have some mischievous things that happen. We definitely stop a lot of traffic in the middle of the street. Buses, cars, motorcycles, doesn't matter what it is. When we're coming through, we're just coming through. That's us stopping cars, trying to drive through the area where we are. A lot of people don't want to get out. They hear it, they hear the drumming and the singing, but they want to do a drive by and just check it out and stay at arm's length. So we usually stop those people and make them get out of the car and get involved. Next. As I said, we honor the Haitian tradition. This is us. We changed the look and the hats that signify the our Sunday and the Gede tradition, which is around the people who watch after and the spirits in the cemetery. So in the afternoon, you'll probably see us in this look. Next. Oh, let me see. Yeah. Um, that was a. This is kind of when things really changed in terms of the numbers of people coming out. The local TV station started to really cover it a lot. So when it's kind of if there's one TV station, which WWL was the one at the time covering that, then it kind of forces all the other folks to have to like get up at 5 a.m. or 4 o'clock and be there, with us as well. So that part of it's really grown in a interesting way. Um, it makes the numbers larger, which is, you know, um, something to manage in a particular way, but um, I guess it's okay. It's the direction we're moving with social media. Next. This one just shows some of those spaces. That short documentary that we had. It was fortunate when I first did that. I just wanted to. I had some young Columbia University students approach me, and they wanted to do a project on like their final project. So somehow they found us, and they decided that they wanted to have the project be that. And I was like, well, if we're really doing it, I want to do it for real. So we kind of co-produced it, and they just wanted to film it and talk about it. I was like, well, let me narrate it. It's going to make more sense. But we've been able to have it and a lot of wonderful film festivals. It's in the Kinds Library now. It was there some years ago, like 4 years ago, but it's in the permanent library in Kinds also. So um, became like something that the city adopted as well. And there are a bunch of different links. You'll see some links around the Pelicans basketball team and other entities that kind of have adopted the thought process and the presence of like what we do traditionally. So yeah, I think that's the last slide, but yeah. So we're down to the question and answer part of this. If anyone has any particular questions, I think they'll either show up in the chat or we can talk about it audibly. But
Yeah,
thank y'all for
Gary.
sitting through this long
No,
little
man, it was
link
thank
there
you
trying to
so
make it
much for
happen.
that
Yeah,
presentation. It was
absolutely.
beautiful. Gary, you have a question?
Thanks, Sunpie. That was
Yes, sir.
a great thing to introduce us to. And, when I've been in the number, I noticed that there was a group of women in white that were chanting nearby.
hmm
And
Um,
what's their name?
they are not part of the Northside Skull and Bone gang, but I would have to. I mean, I know a number of them. I don't know if they had a particular name at the time when they first, started coming out. So I couldn't say that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't say what the exact name is right now in the present. But yeah,
In the
neighborhood
Cajun
folks.
Prairie, it's kind of like there's almost a script in the Cajun Prairie when you go from house to house. what you're
Hmm.
doing is you're asking for some food for the gumbo. And
Hmm.
I wasn't close enough to see what y'all are saying to the people when you knock on their door. Is
Oh,
there,
we do
is it a
deeper
secret?
things. There are well, it's generally me, but we go in houses, we wake people up. We get into bed with them and we wake them up. We drag them back into the reality. I've seen it all. I've seen every large house dog you could dream of. I've seen a lot of, I won't lie, I've seen a lot of Glucks. I've seen a lot of uh, assault rifles. I was just stunning. Everybody has them, care who they are. But I've never gone to a home where people didn't let me in. It's completely random. So once I put that head on, I say my prayers, and I let the ancestral spirits run the rest of the show. Most of it I don't even remember. No lie. Sometimes now photographers, there's one guy in particular, he's bold enough to like follow me into a home, but that's a part of the tradition. Sometimes people offer you food. They might offer you gumbo or whatever they have. I'm not really in there that long, but we definitely go through the house and wake up whomever or whatever is in there. And we also bring blessings. So it's a number of things that happen. We're like a mirror for people and how they feel about their life and around how they feel about death. So those messages usually are like automatic, and I just channel it and let it happen.
Sarah, you have a question?
Yeah, we are talking a lot this year with the BCC about reclaiming the human connection. What are the forces that are
Mm.
bringing us together when things like social media and technology are kind of driving us apart and isolating us? You mentioned about social media actually kind of having a positive impact on the work because all these people are now seeing it. Whereas before it took, a newspaper article or a local news station to cover it for it to really spread. So do you see the social media exposure as a positive, as a negative? Do you have mixed feelings about it?
I think it's both. There's some positive things that definitely come out of social media, like here we are, and this was out of necessity. What drove it? COVID, to get to the point where we are right now. But we're humans, and we figured out how to uh, take the bitters with the sweets. So we can do positive things that come out of all of these new social media ways of having things happen. Before, yeah, it was the newspaper. There are newspaper articles, about like what the Skull and Bone Gang was doing in 1875, uh, in New Orleans. Um, and the news coverage has made it grow. Um, Not everybody knows what we're doing. Some people look at it because they're afraid of death and they're afraid of all sorts of things. Again, we're like a mirror. So how you feel inside about life and death, that is going to be like an instant reaction. Can't hide it when it's happening in the moment. So there are all kinds of contexts that people know about and what they understand around like this kind of masking tradition. But I would say Louisiana in general, people have all kinds of reactions when they see the wire mask that is a part of the Courrier de Mardi Gras, chasing chickens. Some people have all kinds of positive or negative because they don't. It's what you know about life experience and what you allow yourself to like understand and like gain more knowledge is really where it's at. And social media helps in that way. It won't give you everything, but it can get you started in the right pathway to investigate farther what something is. So, and for some people, let's face it, they don't move around as much. It's a gathering place, absolutely. So it's good in that way. But we do know that there's a keenness that you have to have around understanding what you're looking at and like what's real and what's good for you and what's not. And it's wide open territory. But I think the world has always been like that. So
Mm.
adaptation to it is like what's going on. So we have kind of, fairly old tradition around human archetype, around honoring ancestors. This is what all religions are born out of. So contextualizing that is up to you. But it's about how you feel inside in the moment, and then if you have like a natural, uh, you know, self-awareness and type that is like going to want to investigate things farther. It's a great jump off because there's so much information you can get now that people have never seen around the world about other people.
Mm. Miss Marilyn, it's nice to see you. Oh, yep, there
Hi.
you go.
Okay, there we
Okay,
go.
there you
Hi.
go. Yeah.
Thanks. This was just incredible, and I've got a ton of questions, but I'll maybe I'll limit it to two. One is considering you're more than 200 years old, have you or has anybody done any kind of documentation of the history that might be available? I mean, it's just incredible. I'd love to see maybe some photos or paintings of what it might have looked like in, say, the very early 1900s or the late 1800s. And the second question is, I was really interested in the quote unquote mixed media, if you will, of the masks, especially. And there's been some comment in the chat about, okay, what kind of animals are those with the various
Hmm.
horns, and how it was that those were chosen, as well as, did I see on you a turtle carapace? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so many questions, but I'll leave it to those, maybe three.
Okay.
So thank
Okay.
you.
I'll see if I can answer some of that. Every year I do this. I just let it all come to me in dreams. I don't try and chase it down. Never tried to. I'm not somebody who chases trophies or whatever it is. I just, I've been living in dream world for a very long time. So I learned from my grandmother, who I mentioned earlier. Her name was Louvenia Norris. She interpreted dreams for people. She started doing that for me when I was very, very young. Actually, at birth. I still have this shoe that she took the birth sack from and put a little cotton bowl in it when I was born, and when I got old enough to talk, she started, telling me about this stuff. So I just let those things come in dreams. I've had a good opportunity to take trips to spaces around the world that um, were like in the dreams, like these horns. And Gary's right, yeah, those are ibex horns, the water buck, all these things. They just came to me. But I also saw most of this in the dream. So when I get ready to make a head, I just let it come to me. I don't like try and do something that I look up in a book or a magazine. No, I just let the dreams do the work. It makes it much easier. I get the clear vision. Same thing with songs and music and everything. In that way, I've done that all my life. So I don't really have to. I'm not gonna say work is hard, but I let the ancestral spirits do the work, and then it just shows up. Like I wanted to go to South Africa and be in these spaces where this stuff came from. Now, does it look exactly like South Africa? I was like, no, I don't think it does. But 2 summers ago, I went to the International Performing Arts Conference in Joburg, and we went to Soweto, and I did a presentation on the Skull and Bone Gang, and everybody in the room jumped up and started singing and screaming and shouting. They were like, "That's from here." And so it was just, affirmation in that way. So you get that a lot, and some of these things. So that's what I do, in terms of like trying to keep it centered and not change things too much, but allow it to happen. Yeah, I keep my ego out of it. Yeah.
Amy, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you so much,
So,
Mr. Barnes. This is just really beautiful and on so many levels and so complex. Like Marilyn, I have a million questions, but one that really that kind of stays with me is I think it was Ronald that said to you, the more people who don't understand this, the more trouble you're going to have. And I'm wondering, that struck me as really a powerful statement about the potential of appropriation and, people just joining because it looks cool. Or so I'm wondering, what are some of
A
the
lot of that.
ways that you ensure that, people really do understand it when they participate?
Yeah, for participants, it's always, yeah, you get the whole gamut of what you just said. That was Al Mars, Big Chief Al, who said that to
Oh,
me.
okay.
And Ronald, who was wanting to join the gang, came to me. I was the second chief, so everybody would come to me because they knew talking to Al was going to be pretty tough. Because and I know why. I understand it better why he did what he did in that way is because yeah, people don't necessarily understand it. Even though people who want to mask often are like attracted to it, they just want to try it one time and see if it's okay for them or say that they've done it. But that's not what we do. We're doing something different. We're like in it to like really honor our ancestors. So it's not a little contrite game to play when you
Mhm.
do this. So I explain that to people, and you can tell them that, but oh yeah, I know, but they still have like they have a large ego around like what they're going, the plans that they have, which they're never going to say to you what it is, but they're going to try it on Mardi Gras Day. So they haven't really thought about like what their ancestors have done for them or what they went through or any of those things. They're saying, give this to me and let me do this. So
Mhm.
I just look at them and tell them it's not happening like that.
Mhm.
Um, and that's, just so they'll understand, like you should have, uh, it's fun. We have a lot of pageantry. It's not like we don't, but we also have this very large front end of it that is very important and real to understand who and what you are. And this came out of tradition of people self-validating themselves, first of all, when they were told they couldn't do anything. And I'll
Mhm.
be, truthful and frank. The, the people who started this tradition, they did that. At the end of the day, they came back home and they took a beating and they were chained back down to the floor, chained and punished for many, many days, weeks, and some people, this is what it was because you weren't considered a human at all. You're just property, period. And that is a whole different thing than some other things that happen. So when you sing and chant and you call your ancestral spirits, they're gonna help you to understand a lot of things. They'll help you move through it. Like that's what I did to like sustain it, and it did start doing, more um, things that help just to support what we do. We don't, we never really ask anybody for anything about it. Now, people in the gang think it's different than that. You always have that element. Those are human archetypes. So, so you have to deal with that every time, every year. It's, you know, people, they have social media. Guess what? They're sending messages, and they want to know how can I join, but uh, it's okay. But I am the one that mostly has the burden of like vetting what's going on and trying to have people understand what the tradition is. And if you're going to do it and you're in it, then you're in it. But it's not a 1 year, one off type of situation. You should be thinking about what can I bring to the table to help to sustain this and keep it alive.
Thank you so much for those questions. And I do ask
Yeah,
that you
it's
guys
great
stick
questions.
around if you can, because we'll
Mhm.
still be able to talk to Sunpie a little bit through 1:30. But what I'd like to ask you is the question of the theme of this year is what's a strategy that you can share with us to reclaim human connection and stay in touch with people in the world that we live in today?
I think that it is good to be in as much as possible in the physical presence of people. It's not always easy, but we have different ways that we can do it. and to transfer and share knowledge. And like every time you get in front of someone, there's like a genuine person, make a note of that because it
Mm,
that gets rare very quickly. And there's a lot of contriteness that goes on in the world. It's nothing new. I just, but I do realize that like me, I'm going to take a walk in the woods. I got people who want to like learn more about like what's in their backyard. I think there are a lot of people who are like back into the healing traditions of what's going on in Louisiana for a long time, and it's different than in other places. It happens everywhere, but I encourage them to like learn and understand all of these healing plants that we have here. For example,
mm,
the local plants, not the stuff you buy off of
yeah. Yeah.
uh, different social platforms. I won't name anything like Amazon or like don't buy that stuff from Temu. Put your boots on and get out there and go find some Mungier. When you want to make Mungier syrup, go understand what Bacchus looks like. Pull those
Good.
leaves off for yourself and go and boil it down. Or if it's chardonnay this time of year, or if it's
Yeah.
wild onions, or if
Yeah.
there's so many great, wonderful healing plants that are like good for people in Louisiana. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the land where old man Bear found black willow and made Bear aspirin from. So
Yeah. Yeah.
understand how wonderful the gifts are, and they came from somewhere. Like people had ancestral knowledge, but then they were like connected to the cosmos,
Mm, mm,
which is much faster than trial and error. Here, you eat this and let me see if you die. No, there, there were other things going on. So
good.
understanding like these are like internalized and that to survive people, um, they connected in other ways. So staying
Yeah.
connected with humans and doing things together in positive ways, I think is like what is so much yeah, it's just an important thing. It doesn't matter if it's playing music together, if you're reading or writing poetry, or if you're trying to solve any kind of problem, they say it, don't want coup de main, you know. So a helping hand for people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
need help is like a genuine thing. And it's gonna help you if you do it. Don't be stingy about the realization that we all kind of need each other in different ways. And that's because again, you have to like work on the ego part of it and not let it be the main driving force,
Mm,
but quell that ego, and, that-
right.
and miraculous things start to happen faster. And so that means like being in front of someone or like creating friendships and
Good.
alliances,
Sure.
and that's called like sharing humanity, right? Learning how to
Yeah.
be good
Yeah.
humans is like where it's at. And if you
Yeah.
got to tell somebody, I love you in spite of yourself, tell them. They need to hear it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that lets them know that, nobody's perfect, but, we all have to work on ourselves on a daily basis. So
Yeah.
that's
Thank you for that, man. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing all of that you
sure.
did. And again, I encourage everybody to stick around. We're
Yeah.
gonna continue the conversation. Um,
Yeah.
so this is the schedule for the BCC groups that are going to be coming up. So if you're interested in those, we encourage you to participate in that. Our next gathering is going to be Friday, February 27th. So please keep a lookout for that information coming through social media. I'll ask that since we're a little bit past time, if you have any announcements, we're going to save those until the informal section. We also have the LA Folklore Society annual meeting that's going to be coming up. So we hope that some folks will attend that. We also have the Folk Alliance International Annual Conference that's going to be taking place next week. I believe that Sunpie is going to be over there. So if you want to check him out in person, please do so. And then, of course, you can connect with us through the Facebook group. Um, so this is going to end the formal part of our presentation, but I do hope that you will all stick around because we're going to have Sunpie play a little bit music for us. So thank you again all for being with us, and we hope to see you again in February.
So, yeah, I'm gonna play you. We are the Northside, oh, still and bone gang. We come to remind you before you die. You better get your life together. Next time you see us, it's too late to cry. We are the North Side, who's still and bone gang. We come to remind you before you die. You better get your life together. Next time you see us, it's too late to cry. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. You better straighten up before you come see us. You better get your life together. Next time you see us, it's too late to cry.